One of Donald Trump's longtime assistants has now come out against him and is cooperating with federal investigators in the classified documents case, the very case that Donald Trump himself has been indicted in by special counsel Jack Smith. Now, the aide said that Trump repeatedly wrote to-do lists on classified documents while she was working for him, okay? And that's according to sources close to Molly Michaels, who's the assistant who has come forward with these allegations. So as described to ABC News, the aide, Molly Michael, told investigators that more than once she received requests or taskings from Trump that were written on the back of note cards. And she later recognized those note cards as sensitive White House materials with visible classification markings used to brief Trump while he was still in office about phone calls with foreign leaders or other international related matters. So, given her tasks to do, writing it in list form, just that he happened to do it in the back of literal classified documents, according to Molly Michael. Now, the note cards with classification markings were at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate when FBI agents searched the property on August 8th of 2022. But the materials were not taken by the FBI, according to sources familiar with what Michael told investigators. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with that name, as I was earlier today, she was someone who was hired by Trump back in 2018. Michael became Trump's executive assistant in the White House, and she continued to work for him when Trump left office. But she resigned last year in the wake of Trump's alleged refusal to comply with federal requests and the FBI's subsequent search of Mar-a-Lago. Now, sources close to Michael said that she actually was not present. She was not at Mar-a-Lago at the time that the FBI raided Donald Trump's residence. But when she returned to her office, she found the documents underneath, according to her, a drawer organizer. And she says that she immediately transferred those documents over to the FBI that same day. Again, this is all based on what she's saying. It's unclear if Michael notified Trump or others at Mar-a-Lago about her discovery, or if any of those note cards from White House briefings are among the 32 different classified documents that Trump is charged with unlawfully retaining. And Michael also reportedly told the investigators last year that she was concerned about how Trump handled recurring requests from the National Archives about said classified documents, about handing those documents over. Speaking to federal investigators, Michael recounted how by late 2021, as many as 90 boxes of materials from Trump's time as president were moved into a basement storage room at Mar-a-Lago, and how as pressure from the National Archives mounted, she and Trump aide Walt Nauta would bring boxes to Trump's residence for him to review. And sources said that after Trump heard the FBI wanted to interview Michael last year, Trump allegedly told her, quote, "You don't know anything about the boxes." I mean, wow.
Yeah, so there's a couple things that flow from this, and also one of Trump's former lawyers have turned on, and we'll talk about that in a sec too. So first is the flippant nature with which he deals with our classified documents. So if, again, Phil and a Democrat and MAGA would be irate. If Biden was just like offhandedly writing to-do lists for his assistant on the back of classified documents. Oh, here's our plans to invade Iran. Here, and go get me tomatoes and bananas, right? Every Republican would be apoplectic in talking about impeachment. But for Trump, that's the bare minimum, okay? To me, the much more serious stuff is, she says over and over again, he would have them move the documents in response to the FBI. And the FBI would say, give the documents, and he'd be like, don't give it to them, just move them, keep moving them. And we gave all the documents, the 15 boxes, and she's like, no, sir, there are at least 90 boxes, and you've seen them, and you've seen the pictures. So what are we doing here? And what you were doing was a federal crime. That's what you were doing. And so, look, we're only talking to independents. Democrats are gonna say Trump's guilty no matter what. MAGA is gonna say he's innocent no matter what. So to all the independents out there, how many times do people in his inner circle, people who got paid for him, people who liked him, who wanted to work for him, I have to say to you, the guy's an unbelievable criminal. We couldn't stop getting him to commit crimes before you believe it. So in this case, here we go again. We don't talk about the boxes. Total mob boss move. Everything he did here is along those lines. And you've got to ask yourself at some point, what the hell was he going to do with those documents?
Yeah.
Because I mean, this idea that he just kept them for memorabilia is absurd.
Well, I mean,
please don't tell me you believe that.
I mean, apparently he just didn't want to spend any of his funds on paper to write to-do lists for his assistants. I mean, no, but that's the thing, Cenk. I'm curious about that as well, right? Because obviously, there's a lot of speculation about why he wanted to keep those classified documents in his possession. Did he want to sell them? Those are some of the more nefarious allegations. Did he want to, use them to his advantage anyway when it comes to foreign business dealings? Or is he just the kind of guy who doesn't like to be told what to do? And
no.
You know what I'm saying? It doesn't,
yes
by the way,
no.
it doesn't even matter what his intentions were.
Yeah.
He was in possession of classified documents. He was asked multiple times to return them. He refused to do so. In fact, he lied consistently about what documents he even had in his possession, and that's what led to the raid in the first place, right? So it doesn't even matter what his intentions were. What I fail to understand is how a man can be so incredibly idiotic to the point where he becomes his own worst enemy, right? I mean, 4 separate criminal indictments. When it comes to the classified documents case, I mean, mounting evidence of wrongdoing. Same when it comes to the election interference case. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Own worst enemy. He doesn't know how to handle himself.
Yeah, because it's pathological. He has a psychological problem. He can't stop lying and he can't stop breaking the law. Guys, what Anna's saying might have some truth to it, that he was stubborn, and if the authorities tell you to send something over, you might think, oh my God, that's the authorities. I need to be careful with this. And I wonder if I have something by mistake that I shouldn't have. That's what a normal person would think. Trump thinks, I hate the authorities. They're not gonna get me to stop breaking the law. I'll show them, I'll hide the documents even more. So is that possible? Yeah, there's some possibility. But why does he have them in the first place? Guys, the answer is super obvious, but we're not allowed to say it for fair reasons, because we don't have the evidence on it yet, okay? But there's one very logical reason why you'd have those documents: to sell them and make an unbelievable amount of money off of them.
One other thing I want to bring up is, listen, you're engaged in, if this is all proven in court, of course, criminality by being in possession of these classified documents. He knows that. He knew that he was not supposed to be in possession of those classified documents. So why then basically engage in the sloppy behavior of writing to-do lists on the back of note cards that are essentially that are classified documents? That's how she found out that these are classified documents. That's how she realized that he was engaged in wrongdoing. So
that one has a super easy answer. Moron of morons. So I'm not just saying that flippantly, guys. So today, Donald Trump has a True Social post where he says, Biden is dumb as a rock. And in that same exact post, he says, the Republicans should use the 25th Amendment against them. The 25th Amendment is for your own cabinet. It has nothing to do with the Republicans in the House or the Republicans anywhere. The Republicans, by definition, could not use the 25th Amendment against a Democratic president. Remember that people were threatening to use the 25th Amendment against him. He never even bothered to figure out what it is.
Insane.
He could have been removed from his office, and his different cabinet members met to discuss removing him from office because he was so emotionally and mentally unstable. And he still didn't bother to find out what the hell the 25th Amendment is. And he's so painfully stupid that he writes in public something that isn't true about the 25th Amendment in the same post that he's calling Biden dumb. So is it surprising that a man of this level of stupidity, I doubt he crosses 70 on IQ, I swear to God, okay? So, I mean, just about as dumb a person as I have ever seen in public. Is it surprising that he'd write his to-do list on the back of classified documents? No, not remotely surprising. And for one more thing about the selling them, look, if you say, the idea that Donald Trump, who loves America, would sell out our defenses. I mean, I'm greatly amused by that, but that's not what we're talking about, that you think that he's some sacrosanct. Remember, he had our way of infiltrating Iran's defenses. You know who Iran's #1 enemy is? Not us, it's Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia, well, look at that, gave Donald Trump millions and millions of dollars right after the election through the golf tournaments. And they gave his son-in-law $2 billion through his private equity fund. And they're the #1 people who would want that exact document that he waved around in Bedminster, that he's on tape saying he's got, and he knows he shouldn't have. So that is one of many different possibilities as to how he could monetize those documents. It's not just he happened to randomly grab hundreds of top secret documents, etc. Come on. And Jenna Ellis has turned on, and we'll get to that in a second too.
Right, before we do though, he was actually asked about the multiple indictments he's facing, including the classified documents case, during an interview with Meet the Press over the weekend. So I want to show you the portion where they discuss the classified documents, so you kind of get a sense of where Donald Trump's head is at on this issue. Let's watch.
A new charge suggests you asked a staffer to delete security camera footage so it wouldn't get into the hands of investigators. Did you do that? It's false.
But let me tell you what.
Would you testify to that under oath?
I'll testify.
You testify to that under oath?
It's a fake charge by this deranged lunatic prosecutor who lost in the Supreme Court 9-0, and he tried to destroy lots of lives. He's a lunatic. So it's a fake charge. But more importantly, the tapes weren't deleted. In other words, there was nothing done to them. And they were my tapes. I could have fought them. I didn't even have to give them the tapes, I don't think. I think I would have won in court. When they asked for the tapes, I said, sure, they're my tapes. I could have fought them. I didn't even have to give them. Just so you understand though, we didn't delete anything. Nothing was deleted.
Now it depends. If the authorities subpoena the tape as part of their criminal investigation, no, you have to turn over the tapes. They have been subpoenaed.
No, it's just guys.
He just has a completely skewed, inaccurate view of how pretty much everything works, right? Whether we're talking about our criminal justice system or we're talking about our Constitution and the 25th Amendment. It's this lack of intellectual curiosity, but even worse than that, it's this willingness to essentially push aside what the reality is and instead implement what his worldview is.
Yeah.
And it's inaccurate. No, you couldn't have fought them after they subpoena the tapes, the surveillance tapes in Mar-a-Lago, because you refused to hand over the classified documents.
So look, nothing triggers me more than someone pretending that Donald Trump is intelligent. So here's the guy who thought the stealth fighter was invisible to the naked eye, that it was like Wonder Woman's jet, you couldn't see it.
I mean,
and he said it twice on tape. Moron, ask someone, right? And no one has the courage to say, hey, Mr. President, you're an idiot. It's not actually invisible. Radar can't pick it up, right? Because he's not only dumb, but arrogant. In this case, he says, they're my tapes. Brother, they're your tapes until you commit a crime on them. When the cops call in and say, hey, we think you might have killed your wife, and it's on your, the Ring video on your phone, on your door, right? You don't go, they're my tapes. You can't have them. They're my tapes. Gotcha, cops. No, that's not how it works.
If the authorities have a warrant to raid your home, even though it is your property, you don't have the right to deny them entry if they have a warrant. I mean, he knows, he has to know this.
God knows what he knows. So, and then he says, nothing was deleted, so it's not a crime. Also not a thing. Mr. Trump, it looked like you tried to kill your wife and you shot at her, but I missed. She's still alive, so it's not a crime. No, moron, it is a crime. You just couldn't, you were so stupid you couldn't complete it. By the way, that's literally what happened. They ran into technical difficulties when they tried to delete the tapes and none of them could figure it out. And finally, the guy who was in charge of tech was like, I don't think we should do this either way. I'm pretty sure the authorities told us not to delete this. Meanwhile, Trump is telling everybody, just go ahead, take care of it, right? So look, I wanted it would have been great if right-wingers picked someone who was a populist and was really conservative, and I would debate them and I would be mad, but wasn't such a pathological criminal. But nice job, right-wingers. This is your leader, super embarrassing. Finally, Jenna Ellis, one of his lawyers. You remember the ones that I was out there with Rudy and the Kraken lady, etc. That's Sidney Powell. So Jenna Ellis, one of the top 3 during the whole election with stolen stuff. Today, Trump's a malignant narcissist. I cannot support him anymore.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
yeah.
Was that after you incriminated yourself in the election meddling case and now would like to distance yourself from Trump? Or had that not happened, would you still be a supporter of Trump's? I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, so
I
got no love for the Jen Ellis of the world. Okay, they're giant hypocrites, and now they're all scurrying about trying to protect themselves. But part of the reason is because Donald Trump won't protect anyone. He doesn't care about anyone that's related to him. He makes you commit crimes and then throws you under the bus. So Jen Ellis didn't believe that. She thought she was going to be totally fine. Oh yeah, Trump really likes me. We're going to steal this election together and it's going to be great. Oops, it turns out we aren't going to be able to pull it off because he's a moron and I've been listening to this dumbest guy in America. Oh, the authorities are interested in this because it turns out you can't do a coup against America. And oh, Donald Trump won't defend me. He's got hundreds of millions of dollars, but he won't spend a dime doing it because he's so infinitely greedy. Oh, malignant narcissist. Thank you for figuring it out, Jenna. But again, MAGA, every single person that's on his side at some point goes, holy cow, what an unbelievable liar and what an unbelievable criminal. But I'm sure dozens and dozens and dozens of right-wingers, deep conservatives, all wrong, but your beloved cult leader is the only one who's telling the truth. All right, have at it. Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.